Speaking of first drafts of history, Carl Bernstein co-wrote perhaps the most famous of our time. David Martin catches up with a legendary reporter who helped uncover the Watergate scandal.
I always had it in my head that all good reporting was the same thing, the best obtainable version of the truth.
You know Carl Bernstein as half of the most famous byline in journalism, Woodward and Bernstein, the Washington Post reporters who uncovered the Watergate scandal.
How old were you when you were assigned to cover the Watergate break-in?
I was 28.
Young, but not green. Bernstein had been a newsman since he was a teenager.
The formative part of my being a reporter occurred from ages 16 to 21 at a great old-fashioned newspaper, the Washington Star, not the Post.
You should have been in high school.
I just finished my junior year of high school. I had sort of one foot in the juvenile court and one foot trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life because it wasn't exactly going right.
His new book, Chasing History, is the prequel to Woodward and Bernstein's classic work, All the President's Men. It begins with the moment he first set foot inside a newsroom.
It was maybe the most exciting moment of my life. It's energy, and like they were in the most urgent errands in the nation, and typing away on deadline.
He had one marketable skill.
I had taken typing with the girls in 10th grade, and I could type about 90 words a minute.
So you got hired?
I got hired.
As what?
As a copy boy at $29 a week.
The Washington Star has since gone the way of most afternoon papers and ceased to publish.
You have to be a certain age to remember the Washington Star.
You sure do.
What was the Washington Star?
It was probably the best afternoon newspaper in the country.
At the Star, he was surrounded by Pulitzer Prize-winning reporters, men and women.
Did you have role models?
Yeah, Sid Epstein. I owe him a lot. He somehow saw things in me, maybe that I didn't see in myself. And he was a great, great editor.
Years later, at the Washington Post, Bernstein worked for another great editor, the brash and dashing Ben Bradlee.
Bernstein, are you sure on this story?
Absolutely.
Woodward?
I'm sure.
As played by Jason Robards in the movie All the President's Men, Bradlee gave Bernstein, played by Dustin Hoffman, his biggest break by keeping a lowly local news reporter on the biggest political scandal in American history. But it was Epstein who gave him his first break in 1961.
And he looked at me and he said, "You go cover the inauguration."
That was the snowbound inauguration of John Kennedy. Bernstein covered crowd reaction as the new president and his glamorous wife rolled by. Then came the assassination in Dallas. Bernstein got the terrible news from another reporter.
She looked at me and said, "He's dead." And, wow, it's amazing. Some moments in your life.
He took dictation as the grim facts were phoned in from Dallas.
2 priests walked out of Dallas Memorial Parkland Hospital at 1:10 p.m. today and announced, quote, "The president is dead." And my hands were shaking.
Still a teenager and living like one, Bernstein started to land stories on the front page. But his college transcript was littered with D's and F's.
Look at the job I had. Who the hell wanted to go to class?
Did you flunk out?
Oh yeah, I flunked out.
Without a college degree, the Star would not promote him. So he wrangled a job interview with an editor at the Washington Post.
He said, "Why do you think you can really do this?" And I said, "Because I had the best education you could have for this business at the Washington Star."
In 1972, the street-smart Bernstein teamed up with the Ivy League Woodward.
Don't want to tell the grand jury.
Why didn't he?
Because nobody asked.
Nobody asked him.
On what started as a third-rate burglary and ended with the resignation of a president.
Nothing's writing on this except the First Amendment of the Constitution freedom of the press and maybe the future of the country.
The kid who had chased history ended up making it.
What we're talking about are really hinges of history in America. And I was lucky enough, here's this kid, he's 16 years old, he gets the greatest seat in the country.